Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and good morning to our friends on the West Coast and in Alaska. My name is Christine Celentano, and I work with Tribal Tech, and we are the Tribal Training and Technical Assistance Provider for the Low Income Home Energy Program, or LIHEAP. The LIHEAP Tribal Training and Technical Assistance Program is provided through the Division of Energy Assistance under the Office of Community Services, Administration for Children and Families, and within Department of Health and Human Services. So for our webinar today, LIHEAP Tribal Collaboration through the Peer-to-Peer Mentoring Network, we're going to cover 3 objectives. Participants will understand the functionality and benefits of the LIHEAP Peer-to-Peer Network. Participants will learn how to access and utilize the LIHEAP Peer-to-Peer Network, and ample time has been allocated for participant questions and answers. This is the first of 2 tribal webinars this year. And the second one will be the Introduction to LIHEAP Performance Measures for Tribes, and will take place on July 19th, 2018 from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that webinar will be delivered in collaboration with a prize. So I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce our presenters. Our first presenter, and working in collaboration with our second, is Bernadette Trujillo, and she is with the Pueblo of Nambe, Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Hello.
Thanks, Bernadette, for joining us. And our second presenter is Erin Stoyer with the National Center for Appropriate Technology LIHEAP Program Manager. Welcome, Erin.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. With that, we'll go ahead and get started, and I'm going to turn this over to Erin and Bernadette.
What is NCAT?
So NCAT, or the National Center for Appropriate Technology, is a national nonprofit, and we are headquartered in Butte, Montana. We help people by providing personalized, one-on-one technical assistance, and we do this to thousands of individuals, businesses, and organizations across the country who are interested in things like energy and agriculture, and we have a special focus on helping low-income Americans. Next slide, please. We have a couple different divisions. In our Energy Services Division, we provide technical assistance to aid in improving energy efficiency and conservation programs to low-income households. NCAT also runs NEAR, which is the National Energy Assistance Referral Program. It's a free service for people who want information on how to apply for LIHEAP program assistance, how to find those services in their area, and other information about grantees. We also administer the LIHEAP Clearinghouse, which is where we provide information and resources to all grantees and stakeholders, including things like program administration, developing policies and procedures, different ways to run your programs, and general items of interest to the low-income energy field.
Why is the peer-to-peer mentoring network housed within NCAT?
That's a good question. So last fall, we worked in partnership with OCS, which is the Office for Community Service, and the Division of Energy Assistance, to develop the peer mentoring network. We wanted to do this to facilitate peer-to-peer information exchange. Throughout our work, we've discovered that many grantees find that the most valuable resource they have is sharing among their peers across the grantee network. So this often happens in more formal ways when you're at a conference or an annual meeting, and you get to see each other face to face. But what happens often is we all go back to work and we lose touch with those people that we made great connections with. So this is just another opportunity to connect with your peers and to be able to share those examples across the network and with each other. So because we already facilitate collecting and sharing grantee resources and information, it seemed to be a natural fit for the LIHEAP Clearinghouse to facilitate this peer information exchange at this particular level. So on the screen was a screenshot of our website and how to find information about the peer-to-peer network. So there's a link there, and when you get there, it outlines the program and gives you information on how to get involved.
What is the relationship to the Offices of Community Services Division of Energy Assistance?
So NCAT and the LIHEAP Clearinghouse administers the program through a contract with OCS DEA. So for this project specifically, we facilitate the program, we make the mentor-mentee matches, and we provide the support and guidance to help make sure that those relationships are developed and are fruitful. Next slide, please. So OCS and DEA actually provides input on potential mentors. So they work with us to identify who might be good in the network to match with a particular mentee. So they also receive and field a lot of frequently asked questions from the grantee network. So they can help us identify topics through all of that contact with the grantee network that might be a great fit for additional peer support. And then they also provide just ongoing support to ensure the success of the program. So the peer-to-peer network has 3 different components that are available depending on your time constraints and your particular need. So the first tier is the LIHEAP Institute. Next slide, please. And the LIHEAP Institute is curriculum that's developed by grantees who have volunteered to share information about something they've done in their program. It's training for the entire network in a wide suite of skills, and it's intended to support new LIHEAP staff or LIHEAP staff who have been around for a while but who want to advance their careers or who might be learning a new role within their agency. So the LIHEAP Institute is web-based, and it's a monthly seminar developed and facilitated by a peer. So we've been contacted by several grantees who have a specific topic that they want to share with the network. And so we work with them to develop, sort of like we're doing here today, a web series that gives an overview of the subject that they're presenting on. And then we have a 30-minute discussion period at the end. So that's an opportunity for participants to discuss more about what they heard on the web or to share information about how they do things maybe a little differently in their own program and to just really discuss more candidly about the particular topic that was presented on. So it's meant to be very casual atmosphere and meant to be participatory and allow people to interact with each other in a way that we don't normally get to do on webinars because it's not just strictly a one-sided presentation. It's meant to be a discussion. So these web series happen on the last Thursday of each month at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you're interested in participating in those webinars, please join our email list. And you can do that on the Clearinghouse website, or you can do that by emailing me. And we have a slide at the end with my contact information and a link to the website. Next slide, please. The next tier well, actually, I should say the LIHEAP Institute are 1 hour a month. So that's the time commitment for those web series. The next tier is where we get a little more time intensive. The Mentoring Connection creates new partnerships between grantees to share information back and forth between each other. And this is generally a grantee who is looking to improve a policy, procedure, or program component who's matched with a mentor who has successfully done that in their own program. So it's meant to really foster that relationship on an as-needed basis. This can range in time commitment from just a few phone calls to months and months of guidance, troubleshooting, and mentorship. This is something that is really decided on between the mentor and the mentee, and is really developed in partnership. So the time commitment can vary depending on your need. There is an orientation, which is a required prerequisite to participating, and that's where you get to meet with your mentor or mentee match, agree upon your expectations, look at your goals and objectives together, and ensure that you have enough time to get out of it what you expect. And so that's for both parties. So if you're interested in signing up either to be a mentor or a mentee, there's an interest sheet that you can fill out and return back to me via email. Here's where I'd like to mention that we're really looking to build our mentor base, especially for tribal-specific issues. The more contact we have with grantees and the more we're able to know what expertise and experience is out there, the more successfully we can match mentors and mentees together. So I know that there are a lot of innovations and great things going on in the Tribal Grantee Network. So if you are one of those grantees who has something to share with the network, or you feel like you could be supportive to another grantee, let us know. We'd love to get you in your pool so that we have more mentees matched with mentors that meet their specific needs. Next slide, please. And the final tier of the project is the Grantee Forum. This requires almost no time commitment. It's an online forum that enables all grantees to share program knowledge with one another in an informal manner and on topic-specific needs. So this is a tool that can be utilized across the network. It's a web-based forum, and all you have to do is sign up and create a login and password. So once you're a member of the forum, so to speak, you can log in and post a question, share materials, and other grantees can respond, share information, post follow-up questions, or engage in some sort of discussion through a web-based forum. Next slide, please. So the Grantee Forum is actually located on the Performance Management website, and the link is there at the top of the slide. When you get to that page, it will say restricted access, please create a login, and that's where you'll create your login and password. Once you do that and you log in, then you'll see the screen that looks similar to what's on your screen right now. So currently we've merged with the Performance Management web forum, so you'll see that there's a topic-specific area for performance management discussions. Then there's general LIHEAP questions, and that would be anything ranging from program administration to finances and accounting to creating policies and procedures, and other general questions. So that's what it'll look like when you get there and create your login. Next question, Bernadette.
How does the network work?
So grantees can actually participate in any tier of the program. If you participate in one, you don't have to participate in the others. So it really sort of depends on your needs. The webinars are fairly easy to get involved with just by getting on our email list and keeping an eye out for those announcements. The grantee forum is as easy as logging in and utilizing the forum. But probably the most interesting part that you'd like to know about is how to get matched with a mentor. So if you are interested in getting matched with a mentor, all you'll do is fill out the interest form and return it back to me via email, or you can mail it to me, whichever you prefer. And the interest form collects some basic information about your needs, just what topics you're interested in getting mentorship on, what program you work with, and what kind of you're looking for in a mentor. Once I have some of this basic information, I can identify a match and set up an introductory call where I can help facilitate your new mentoring relationship. So we do all the legwork to get you matched. Once you're matched, the possibilities really are endless. And you can make your relationship with your mentor whatever works best for you. It's not a very structured program in this way. So the Clearinghouse doesn't participate in any future calls. Once we've made the one-on-one contact, identified your goals and expectations, shared contact information, and agreed upon how you're going to continue to meet in the future, then it's up to you and your mentor to make that happen. But what we can continue to do at NCAT is to share resources with you, help set up calendar appointments to remind you of your meetings with your mentors, or anything that we might be able to do to facilitate that relationship. The great thing is that you don't have to meet in person. You can meet on the phone, or you can just exchange emails back and forth, whatever you prefer. And then it's kind of fun when you do go to an annual meeting or a conference, you can meet your mentor in person, sit down and have lunch and really foster that relationship in a different way. I think that's it about how the network really works.
How are participants found and selected?
So most of the time participants contact us to express interest in the program, and that's through that interest form. And that's whether that's mentors or mentees. And like I said, the interest form allows us to gather that basic information. But sometimes we get a mentee contact us, and we don't have a mentor with that particular expertise in our pool. So essentially then what we do is work with OCS, other contractors, or other grantees to identify a grantee who has expertise in that particular area. So even if we don't have a mentor in our pool that meets your exact needs, we will do the legwork and do the research and find someone who will. So really the matching process can vary depending on your need and availability. But we do all the legwork. Sometimes it can take a few weeks, I'll be honest, to find a great mentor. We are working around schedules and just, communicating back and forth and trying to find someone who has the time and interest in doing that. But if it does start to take a little bit of time, we communicate with the grantee who's seeking that information and let them know just, sort of where we are in the timeline. Although I will say if you contact us as a mentee and you have a more immediate need because you need some help with something that where there's a deadline coming up, we will move you up to the top and do our best to make that match quicker than just a few weeks.
Can we select a specific mentor once we sign up?
Yes, absolutely. If you already know a grantee or other LIHEAP coordinator that you'd like to work with, maybe you've met them over the phone or you've heard stories about something they've done in their program, but you may not know them, let us know. We're happy to facilitate that contact and get in touch with that mentor to explain the program and the need and to invite them to participate. So we'll do our best to accommodate any of those specific requests.
What is the anticipated time commitment if we decide to become a mentor?
So as I mentioned, it really depends on what you and your mentee agree to. So that's something that we can talk about in that introductory call. We decide and discuss together what everybody has time for and what you can reasonably commit to. So we've had mentors and mentees who agree to meet via phone for a regular weekly meeting, like every Friday afternoon, for example. We've had pairings who have met really only one other time to discuss resources on the phone because it was something that could be resolved pretty quickly. And then we've also had mentors and mentees who have agreed to just keep in touch via email periodically on an as-needed basis. And the benefit to that is that now they just know someone that they can get in touch with whenever they have a question. So maybe they didn't have a specific issue they needed mentorship on, but they wanted to have another tool in their toolbox in the form of a mentor to reach out to whenever they want to. So like I said, you know, if you're thinking about becoming a mentor, but you're not sure if you have the time to do it, put your name in the hat anyway. We might be able to find a mentee who really doesn't have a huge need for a time commitment.
Is the information shared between grantees confidential?
Yes. NCAT and OCS do not participate on any of your peer calls or discussions. This is truly meant to just be a peer-to-peer exchange of information and ideas. So this allows you to speak freely and candidly about issues that you might be having so that your mentor can really do an effective job of helping you work through those roadblocks, for example. So the information that is shared with OCS is just generally which grantees have been matched up. So we might say this grantee has been matched as a mentee with this grantee, and then generally what topic you guys will talk about. So maybe it's something like vendor monitoring. And so we'll share basic information like that, but we don't talk about or report about the nature of your discussions.
Can we opt out if we find the time commitment is more than expected or it turns out not to be an effective match?
Yeah, absolutely. If you find that you no longer have the time or the match isn't quite what you expected, just let me know as soon as possible. I'll work with you to problem solve. So that's whether it be like finding a new match to help ensure that you're getting what you want out of a mentor relationship. I can do the best that I can to help end that monitoring or that mentoring relationship in an amicable way. But I just ask that you communicate with me as soon as possible. Then I can help resolve those issues that may come up. You know, we're all in the same boat as grantees and very busy, and certain times of the year especially get very busy. So there's no shame in finding that you no longer have the time to follow through on your commitment as either a mentor or mentee. I would say most grantees would understand when those time issues arise. So I'll work with you to either find a new match or to help facilitate the end of that relationship if you find you don't have the time commitment. But just because you're ending the formal mentor-mentee relationship, it doesn't necessarily mean that you no longer have that person as a resource. It may just mean changing the nature of the way that you communicate and the frequency by which you communicate.
If grantees experienced issues with internet connections, is there a backup plan for the grantees which have unreliable or intermittent connection issues?
Yeah, absolutely. We really understand the fact that in some rural areas, the internet is just not reliable. So most of the mentor-mentee relationship can be done via phone. So as long as you have a reliable phone connection, you should be able to participate. And that would include the monthly webinars as well. We can always try to get you the slides in advance, and then there's always a call-in option so that you can just call in without having to have an internet connection. The only part that might be challenging for people with an unreliable internet connection would be the grantee forum, because that is just all internet-based. So that would be the one tool you would have a difficult time using.
How do we get started?
All right, so as I mentioned, the first thing you want to do is fill out the interest form and submit it back to me. As soon as I get that, I'll go to work finding your mentor-mentee match. Sometimes this can take a few weeks to complete, but I'll communicate with you about the process and timeline at every step of the way so that you're kept in the loop and so that you can begin to look at your schedule and make time for future conversations. So once the match has been made, I typically organize a 30 to 60-minute kickoff introductory call. And this will be something that I work out with both of your schedules. The three of us all get on the phone together and discuss goals, expectations, timeline, and just generally make an introduction so that you're not going into this not knowing anything about the other person on the other end of the line. It really is meant to just be an introductory phone call so that everybody can get comfortable and get to know each other before starting to ask for help and share resources. Once those details are all decided, it's up to you and your mentor to follow through. And I can help, again, by setting up calendar appointments, conference call lines, or any other accommodations you might need. But really all of those details will be decided together on the kickoff call. So once you actually get started in the program, there should be no surprises.
Are you interested in feedback once the program is utilized?
Yes, this is a relatively new program. We just kicked it off in the fall. So as the project progresses, we would like to have that feedback so we know how to improve the program, what aspects of the program were the most useful, what aspects of the program could be improved, and just generally what ideas you have to make the project work best for you. Because this is a resource for grantees, we want to know how to improve it to make it easier for grantees to participate. So typically the way I solicit this is after a few months of participating in the program, I'll follow up with you and just ask a few general questions to get your feedback and suggestions. I'm not necessarily asking you questions about what you learned from your mentor or what your main takeaways were, but more interested in the success of the process. So because it's so new, we're happy to receive that feedback. So don't hold back if you have ideas or suggestions. This program is flexible, and we want to make sure that it works the best for you that it can. So here on this final slide is my contact information, my email and phone number, link to the LIHEAP Clearinghouse website where you can find information about the peer-to-peer network, or just other general materials that might be able to help you. Then there's a link to the interest sheet that I continue to mention, and then there's a link to the grantee forum where you can go and create your login and password.
Okay, thanks, Erin, and thanks, Bernadette. At this time, we're going to entertain questions. If you can, I guess we'll unmute the lines, but before we do that, if participants could mute their own lines first to prevent feedback. And then if you have a question, you can either put it into the chat box or you can use the raising your hand little button at the top of the screen, and we'll go ahead and get your questions addressed. It looks like we have one question from Sharnice. Can we go ahead and unmute Sharnice so she can go ahead and ask the question?
Hi, Christine. Thank you for the opportunity to let me ask my question. My question was simply that, and I'm not sure if anyone else has this question because I know a few people may have jumped on a little late. My question is, will the peer-to-peer mentoring network be beneficial for tribal staff that may be new to the LIHEAP program and, you know, just need in general, I guess, basic information about how the LIHEAP program works, or, you know, maybe a few tips that we can use for our particular tribe, you know, to better enhance our program?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. I think that new LIHEAP staff are going to benefit from this program in so many ways. We have a match right now for a new LIHEAP coordinator who started about a month ago, and she is matched with someone who has been in the program for 15 years. And really the only goal for them is to be able to provide that guidance to someone who is new. She didn't have the luxury of having, you know, a step-by-step manual handed down from her predecessor when she took her position, and doesn't really have anyone, because as many of us do have very small LIHEAP offices, that she can lean on to get that information. So the whole point of this particular match is just that, is to connect her with someone who can give that general information, some tidbits and tips on deadlines or how to successfully submit data or model plans, just general things like that. So they've agreed basically to meet with each other before major LIHEAP program milestones. And the very first thing that they did was the veteran coordinator shared with her a calendar to outline what to expect throughout the year. And then based on that calendar, they've agreed to meet ahead of each major deadline to kind of go through the process. So that's just one example, but I think new LIHEAP staff would benefit greatly from this project.
Thanks, Erin. We're still entertaining questions in case anyone has them for Erin. Erin, I wanted to ask you, are there any, currently, are there any tribal mentor-mentee relationships set up?
That's a great question. No, actually. Since this project is so new, I am thankful to be able to do this webinar today to just increase the awareness of the opportunity to sign up for it. It really hasn't been going that long, so part of what we're trying to do is just make sure that everybody knows that this resource is available.
Will there be information at the upcoming conference on this peer-to-peer network opportunity?
Yes, there may be some time. I saw in the agenda recently that there were some open discussion periods, so I know the peer-to-peer network was one of the ideas to fill that. So that would be a great time to meet with someone to talk about it more, or even just, go through like the interest sheet in person.
That'd be great. Thanks. Do any of our participants have questions for Erin? I just want to remind you, as we're waiting, that there are web links for information at the bottom of the screen, and so you can access those. And the PowerPoint is also available for download.
Hi, Christine.
Yes.
All right. This is Sharnice again, and I just have a quick comment. I would like to mention that during the national conference in New Orleans last year, I did notice, in between some of the sessions that, because we had the opportunity to actually come together and meet, other grantees and discuss, I noticed that there were a lot of communication amongst different, tribal grantees, saying that they were having similar issues or similar, things, concerns in their programs, just, in their regular speaking conversations. And I really think that this tool will be great. It's a great platform for everyone to actually come together and talk more about those issues that they're having, or maybe some of the lessons learned or the benefits and just different aspects of everyone's program, and, maybe coordinate on a few things. So if anyone is interested in it, I think this is a great opportunity to go ahead and do that and just share some of the information you have or some of the knowledge that you have, with other folks, from your day-to-day. I really like the grantee forum. I think it's a great place, even if you don't have a question, if you want to poke in from time to time and just look and see some of the topics that everyone are discussing. You might have something, valuable to add to it. So I definitely recommend everyone, registering for that and just getting some updates on that. Just wanted to add that quick piece. Thank you.
That's a great point, Sharnice. And to follow up on that, this is a great resource for people who aren't able to regularly attend in-person trainings and conferences also. I think the peer-to-peer exchange is limited when you're unable to go to those in-person meetings, and so this is a good supplement for people who are unable to do that on a regular basis.
Okay. I don't see any other questions. I do want to remind folks that the Introduction to LIHEAP Performance Measures for Tribes will take place on July 19th, so you will get some information on that before that happens. And those of you that are able to attend the annual conference, we'll all look forward to seeing you there. And with that, I would like to thank you all for attending. Thanks for your time. If you do have any questions as a follow-up to this, or you think of something later, feel free to contact Erin and ask her. And then if you would, please take just a few minutes to fill out the evaluation of the webinar for us. We appreciate any feedback. We want to make these really useful for all of you going forward. And I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you so much to our participants and also our speakers. And hopefully this has been helpful for you.